Why hasn't Middle America given Paige Beckers the Caitlin Clark treatment?
Paige Beckers is woke as hell. She's going to come into the league and join the WNBA activism. She's probably not going to be embraced over that because we are sick of it.
Luka Doncic didn't hesitate. When asked to name his favorite women's basketball player, he could have said anyone. Paige Beckers, Aja Wilson, Sabrina Ionescu. But instead, Luka looked dead serious and said just two words: Caitlin Clark.
Who's your favorite women's basketball player?
Caitlin Clark.
Really?
Yeah.
No sugarcoating, no media spin, just raw honesty from one of the biggest names in the NBA. And when the reporter pushed back, trying to slip Paige Beckers into the conversation, Luka shrugged her off like she didn't even matter.
You know, like Paige Bueckers?
She was okay. I didn't see her playing in the women's NBA, so.
She just got drafted.
Number one.
Dallas.
She's okay, he said. Haven't seen her play in the WNBA. That moment shook the basketball world, because in just 5 seconds, Luka Doncic crushed the fake narrative the media's been trying to sell, that Paige is somehow on Caitlin's level. She's not. And if you're still wondering who's really moving the needle in women's sports, Luka just gave you the answer the whole league is too afraid to say out loud. When Luka Doncic was asked a simple question, who's your favorite women's basketball player? He could have played it safe. He could have dropped a politically correct answer, thrown out multiple names, or praised Paige Beckers the way the media has been desperately trying to get fans to do. Instead, he said what most real hoopers already know: Caitlin Clark. No hesitation, no overthinking, just facts.
He was asked about his favorite women's basketball player. Listen to this.
Who's your favorite women's basketball player?
Caitlin Clark.
Really?
And when the reporter followed up by asking about Paige Beckers, Luka didn't flinch. He shrugged. She's okay. Haven't seen her play in the WNBA. That's it. That one moment exposed everything.
You know, like Paige Bueckers?
No. She was okay. I didn't see her playing in the women's NBA, so.
She just got drafted.
Number one.
Dallas.
He used to play in Dallas, which is where Paige Beckers plays.
Luka, one of the most respected basketball minds in the NBA, couldn't even pretend Paige was in the same conversation as Caitlin Clark, and he didn't need stats or long-winded takes. His body language said it all. Caitlin Clark has arrived, Paige Beckers hasn't even started, so why is the media still trying to force this rivalry? Let's be clear, Caitlin Clark isn't just good, she's a phenomenon. She led the NCAA in assists twice. She holds the all-time NCAA scoring record. She sold out arenas on the road, everywhere she played. She led the league in WNBA assists as a rookie. She has the highest selling trading card in women's basketball history.
There's another trading card that sold for an absurd amount of money. You'd have to pay $244,000 to have gotten that card.
She brought more national attention to women's hoops than any player, male or female, in decades. And that's just in the last 2 years. Meanwhile, the media wants us to believe Paige Beckers led the nation in assists. But the receipts tell a different story. She wasn't even top 10. In fact, in her most recent full season, she ranked 63rd. That's not elite. That's not even close.
A reputable basketball publication, Bleacher Report, stating that Paige Beckers led the nation in assists twice in her college career. She has been top 15 once. She was 63rd last year when she led the nation assists. Georgia Amore, who had more assists than Paige, did not lead the nation assists as well. It is literally the media just lying. They are literally just lying.
Even Georgia Amore, who had more assists, was never credited as leading the nation. Why? Because the media needs Paige to be Caitlin's equal, but the numbers don't support that. The narratives are being manufactured, the rivalry is being forced, and Luka Doncic just blew it all up with one shrug.
Let's get to Luka Doncic, who of course plays for the Lakers now after having been traded. Who's your favorite women's basketball player? Caitlin Clark. You don't like Paige Beckers? Quote, shrugs. She's okay. Haven't seen her play in the WNBA, so, and when he sees her play in the WNBA, he won't be that impressed either.
Because Luka knows what real dominance looks like. He's played with legends. He's faced MVPs. And he's seen the difference between hype and impact. That's why he didn't even acknowledge Paige's hype. Because without WNBA minutes, there's nothing to evaluate. Therefore, Luka's response wasn't petty. It was professional. It was truth. And it forced fans to ask the question the media keeps avoiding. Why are we still pretending Paige Beckers is on Caitlin Clark's level?
I thought Paige Bueckers was a star. I thought Paige Bueckers was the secondary great white hope. It didn't matter who Caitlin Clark was playing, and the game would be headline news. That is what's missing in women's college basketball this season.
Luka Doncic Shrug didn't just reveal the gap between Caitlin and Paige, it exposed something deeper, a system desperately clinging to control.
Basically, Wings GM conveys key difference in Paige Beckers and Caitlin Clark's rookie season. He said the one thing when you talk about last season is that Paige won't have the benefit that Caitlin did. And this is nothing against Caitlin, but we had an Olympic break last year. So you got to see some players take a month-long break, essentially. And those rookies were coming off a grueling season in the collegiate game. They got a break and got to reset and finish strong. This draft class, which includes Paige, is not going to have that luxury. We don't have a big break where they can almost catch a second win and then push to the finish line in the second half of the season, he continued. So we have to watch this rookie class around the league about load management. It's not just our rookies. We're all going to be tuned in to load management, especially these rookies that played long into their collegiate season. I didn't really see any of the benefit that Caitlin Clark got coming into the season.
Because the truth is, Caitlin Clark's rise has broken the old rules. Before Caitlin, the WNBA was a tight-knit circle, small audiences, predictable coverage, media gatekeepers who decided who got the spotlight and who didn't. Players had to say the right things. Fans had to accept what they were told. Then Caitlin Clark came along, and none of that mattered anymore. She broke viewership records. She sold out arenas in cities she didn't even live in. She moved more merchandise than entire franchises. And most importantly, she did it without asking for permission. That's where the panic started. The old guard, including some loud voices in WNBA media, didn't know how to handle her. So instead of embracing the growth, they tried to discredit it. First, they said she was overhyped. Then they said she wasn't ready for the WNBA. Then they said she only got attention because she's white. And when none of that worked, they started creating fake rivals to balance the narrative.
We want to see Caitlin Clark and we want to see Paige Beckers.
Caitlin scored more points per game, but Paige was more efficient.
Paige Bueckers has had one of the best careers in the history of women's college basketball. On paper, you can make the case that Paige Bueckers has better college career than Caitlin Clark. But this is the world of television, where you're not judged based on your accomplishments. You're not judged based on your stats. You're judged based on your drawing power. And looking at these ratings for the women's tournament, it is abundantly clear Paige Bueckers might be a star, but she's not a draw.
These two were the topic of conversation. Who's the better player?
She's not nearly the player that Caitlin Clark is.
You know, she's been really disappointing this whole tournament.
We're not creating this rivalry. We're not saying they hate each other, but they are two of the best in the game right now.
Enter Paige Beckers. Suddenly headlines everywhere. Is Paige better than Caitlin? Can Paige become the next WNBA star? Are we overlooking Paige's greatness? But here's the problem. Paige hasn't played a single WNBA minute. She's not a rookie. She's a prospect, a name, a brand. And the media is banking on her because they're terrified that the WNBA's identity is changing without their control. Even respected insiders like Kurt Miller started throwing out strange excuses, saying Paige wouldn't get the same break Caitlin did during her rookie year. They blamed Olympic scheduling, load management, media pressure, anything to soften expectations before Paige even suits up. But Caitlin didn't get a break. She finished the most watched college game in history, then flew straight to the WNBA draft. She had no rest, no soft landing. She was thrown into the fire and still led the league in assists. Paige is entering a league that Caitlin rebuilt, and somehow the media is already making excuses. It doesn't stop there. Some outlets even tried to frame Caitlin's fan base as toxic and problematic, claiming only one group is responsible for hate and harassment.
We know Natalie Esquire, a serial hater when it comes to the Caitlin Clark fan base. She's pretty much a driving force behind a lot of the drama that take place in the media.
You have other people like Sabria Whitaker. You have so many people out there, and people like this, the committee, which is, a group of really, really strong women's basketball fans on Twitter, they have influence. Dawn Staley flew flew 2 members of the committee to South Carolina's opening game in Paris, okay?
So they're calling old guard WNBA fans the committee. These are the same people that is pushing race narratives. These are the same people that is bashing Caitlin Clark. These are the people she's talking about.
But the truth is obvious. The media is scared because Caitlin Clark didn't come through the system. She didn't wait for permission. She became the biggest star in women's basketball on her terms. And Luka Doncic's answer wasn't just a shout-out. It was a signal to the world. Real hoopers know who's really changing the game. Therefore, every time the media tries to create another fake headline, they're only proving what Luka already told us.
In Natalie Esquire heart is so strong, LOL. She said this in 4 different ways for absolutely no reason. NBC, at Indiana Fever. We don't want her covering America's team. Natalie Esquire said only one is super problematic, emo, in my experience, and based on listening to what has been said and reported on all year, it's a common theme. I only get harassed to endure racism, receive threatening emails, DMs from one fan base. So yes, it's one. It can apply in all of sports, but there is a notable difference in one fan base with respect to the W. This tweet said, no, it's one. It's not allegedly. This is my experience, and it only comes from a specific set of fans. So yes, for me, it's one fan base. You've already heard a player say in her career she's never experienced anything like this. Stop trying to violate our experience.
Paige isn't Caitlin's rival. She's Caitlin's shadow. When Luka Doncic casually said Caitlin Clark, the basketball world blinked. When he shrugged off Paige Beckers, it didn't feel mean. It felt inevitable. Because the truth is, Luka said what the stats, the fans, and the eyeballs have been screaming for months. Caitlin Clark didn't take anyone's spotlight. She built her own. She didn't wait for gatekeepers. She didn't ride legacy coverage. She earned every bit of attention by doing what no one else in women's basketball history has done. She moved the needle and shattered it.
Not only do I not think Paige is going to move the needle, I don't think she's going to flutter it. I don't think it's going to vibrate slightly.
You can't fake that. You can't Photoshop arenas filled with fans in other cities. You can't fabricate record-breaking trading card sales, primetime ratings, or MVP chants in visiting arenas. Caitlin Clark turned the WNBA into must-watch TV. She turned sports blogs into battlegrounds. She turned casual fans into loyal viewers. And she did it in less than a year.
A lot of Caitlin Clark fans, and so many of them are not white. It's just insulting to assume that that's the case to the people that aren't white, to the Black Americans that do love Caitlin Clark.
Eaton Thomas contrasts how white Americans view the two based on stark differences in speaking out against racial injustice. Quote, perhaps it's because, unlike Clark, Beckers has always been outspoken about issues off the court, Thomas wrote in a Guardian article. At the 2021 ESPYs, Beckers was named the College Athlete of the Year. She used her acceptance speech to celebrate and honor Black women in particular. In Beckers' famous ESPYs speech, she used her platform to recognize those who didn't get the same recognition as her, specifically highlighting Black women. While Black America cheered Beckers, it seemed like mainstream white America, a demographic once viewed her as, in her words, a media darling, weren't signaling out her praises. Is it a coincidence, or maybe because her injuries have made people forget her greatness as an athlete? But she's back from injury, and now why aren't people focused on Beckers as they were Clark last year when she was tearing up college basketball? Maybe if Beckers had delivered a more vanilla ESPY speech, things would be different. This is a completely embarrassing article. Caitlin Clark is a worldwide phenomenon whose playing style has drawn a level of hype that hasn't been seen in basketball in a decade.
Meanwhile, Paige Beckers, for all her skill, for all her potential, is still a question mark. Still a projection, still being shielded from fair comparisons by media spin and padded headlines. And Luka Doncic, without even trying, cut through all of that. He didn't need to tear Paige down. He just told the truth. I haven't seen her in the WNBA, which is the polite way of saying she hasn't done anything yet. But Caitlin has. And she's only getting started. That's why this matters. Because the moment Luka made his pick, he didn't just validate Clark's greatness. He exposed the fear behind the media's narrative. The fear that women's basketball is no longer something they can control. That the new face of the league isn't someone they anointed. that she doesn't fit neatly into their boxes: activist or quiet, political or palatable, legacy or outsider. She's just Caitlin, and she wins. So when you see outlets scrambling to prop up Paige, when you hear excuses about Olympic breaks and rookie fatigue, when you hear the noise about problematic fan bases and undeserved hype, just remember, this is what disruption looks like.
Second chapter of the Caitlin Clark era in the WNBA will commence soon. Clark established herself as a superstar in her rookie season with the Indiana Fever and will now lead a championship hopeful team into year 2. However, before the season begins, Clark was involved in a major news headline that featured a 6-figure price tag. Clark's edition of the 2024 Piani Prism WNBA Throwback Signatures Golden Vinyl Card has been officially sold.
The WNBA is changing. The audience is growing. The metrics are real. The resistance is loud. But so is Caitlin's game. And if you think Luka Doncic is the only one watching, think again. Because the league, the fans, and the future already know who's leading the next chapter. It's not the player the media told you to love. It's the one who made you watch.
Look, I don't expect us to not make mistakes really while we're figuring this out. But what I don't want is to stop.
The WNBA thought they had time. They thought Caitlin Clark would need weeks, maybe months, to adjust. But on day 1 of training camp, everything changed.
All right, y'all, day 1. Y'all, we talked about it. Excited about the opportunities, right? Excited about the opportunity we have. Starts right now. The devil's in the details. Everything we do. Detail-oriented, purposeful, intentional, high level of communication. Okay, we're going to make a lot of mistakes. That's to be expected. But if we over-communicate, we'll be able to work through it. So high level of communication. I'm excited, y'all.
Veterans, rookies, coaches, even front offices, all caught off guard by what the Indiana Fever just unleashed. And it wasn't just Caitlin. It was all of them. A brand new core moving like they'd played together for years. Caitlin Clark ran the floor like a general. Aaliyah Boston was locked in on every possession. Kelsey Mitchell looked reborn. And the rookies, catching lobs, blocking all-stars, shocking everyone in the building. Meanwhile, the veterans, names like DeWanna Bonner and Natasha Howard, didn't flinch. They didn't babysit. They led. What happened at this practice wasn't just training. It was a message. And what came next, no one expected, because the Indiana Fever didn't come to play. They came to take over. Training camp usually starts slow. New teammates need time to click. Roles need to be defined. Coaches need to set the tone. But the Indiana Fever, they walked in like they had already been playing together for years. And right in the middle of it all, Caitlin Clark commanding the court like she's been a pro for a decade. Her passes weren't just clean, they were surgical. She wasn't just making reads, she was controlling the pace. And when the scrimmage hit crunch time, she launched a step-back 3 that hit nothing but net. That shot wasn't just a bucket, it was a warning. But what really shocked everyone wasn't just Clark, it was how fast the entire unit came together. Kelsey Mitchell, a scoring machine for years, looked free. With veterans like DeWanna Bonner and Natasha Howard now taking on leadership, Mitchell no longer had to carry the load, and it showed. She was smiling between plays, cutting harder, and attacking like a pure scorer again. That's the thing about structure. When the right leaders are in place, the game opens up. And that structure starts with Coach Stephanie White, who brought a message of accountability from day 1. "We will make mistakes," she told the team. "But if we over-communicate, we'll survive it."
High level of communication. Okay, we're going to make a lot of mistakes. That's to be expected. But if we over-communicate, we'll be able to work through it. So high level of communication. I'm excited, y'all.
And over-communicate they did. Drills paused. Coaches corrected footwork. Assistants demonstrated screen angles. No one was above the standard. Therefore, even the stars were getting pushed. Aaliyah Boston, already a 2-time All-Star, was grinding through defensive rotations. And right behind her, Michaela Timpson, the rookie who stole the show. 6'2" with a 7-foot wingspan. That's already scary. But when she blocked Boston, yes, blocked the Rookie of the Year, the entire gym reacted. Not because it was disrespectful, because it was real. Timpson wasn't there to be a background player. She was there to earn a spot. And every player saw it. You could feel the tension. 15 players, just 11, maybe 12 roster spots. Every rep mattered, every missed rotation was a risk, and yet it didn't feel like panic. It felt like purpose. And that's what separates this Fever team from last year. This isn't just a rebuild, it's a revival. But here's the twist. All eyes were on Caitlin Clark, expecting her to dominate the ball like she did at Iowa. Instead, she did the opposite. She set off ball screens. She moved without the ball. She made quick reads and passed up good shots for better ones. That level of unselfishness, that's rare from a rookie. And it sent a clear message. She's not just here to score. She's here to win. Therefore, when the Fever's projected starters hit the floor, Clark, Boston, Mitchell, Bonner, and Howard, something clicked. Spacing opened up, rotations tightened, plays flowed, and the rest of the WNBA, they started to worry. What happened on day one wasn't supposed to happen this fast. Chemistry, that takes time. Systems, they need months to settle in. Rookies, usually overwhelmed, but not this team, not Caitlin Clark, not the Fever. While other franchises are still juggling rotations and adjusting to off-season trades, Indiana is already playing with mid-season sharpness.
Body to move quickly and our minds to slow down. Okay, that's part of putting us in situations where it's not going to be a structure, where there's going to be some chaos. It's up to you to start to find the calm in the chaos. We got to learn to find space in chaos so that we can put people in positions to be successful.
The biggest reason, buy-in. Caitlin Clark could have walked into training camp acting like the savior. She didn't. She became a sponge. She listened to veterans. She made extra passes. She got in the gym early and stayed late. And that culture of humility spread. Brianna Turner, once labeled a risky addition due to a resurfaced tweet, has done the exact opposite of what critics expected. On the first day, she and Caitlin executed a flawless pick and roll that ended in an easy finish. No tension, no ego, just clean basketball. Turner even said it herself. Caitlin hasn't even hit her ceiling yet. I'm excited to watch her grow.
And of course you have Caitlin, she had such a phenomenal rookie season, so many great accolades. And I think the jumping from season 1 to season 2, players can also make a really big jump. So I'm excited to see her growth from year 1 and year 2. And she hasn't reached her ceiling yet either, so I'm really excited to watch her growth as well.
But that wasn't the biggest surprise. Sydney Colson, a back-to-back WNBA champion, signed a 1-year deal to mentor this squad. And her partnership with Clark, it's becoming the secret weapon. During drills, Colson can be seen coaching Caitlin through traps, fighting over screens, and reading defensive angles. That's championship DNA being handed down play by play. Therefore, what fans saw on day 1 wasn't just a practice. It was a glimpse into the future, and it's coming fast. Watch the returning core: Clark, Mitchell, Boston, Hull, Dantas. They're not just playing hard, they're translating plays, teaching terminology, guiding rookies. This team has leadership at every level. And when you combine that with Caitlin Clark's vision, Boston's dominance, and veterans who want to win, you don't just get improvement, you get a contender. The final moment of camp said it all. Clock ticking down, ball in Clark's hands, Dana Bonner urging her to shoot. Caitlin steps back from deep and drills it. But it wasn't just the make, it was what happened after. She bangs her head against the padded wall in celebration. Goofy, lighthearted. And suddenly the whole team is laughing. That's culture. That's connection. It's rare to see a team this unified on day 1. But that's what makes this dangerous. Because the Fever aren't just getting along, they're buying in. And now, the rest of the league has to deal with that. So the next time you hear someone ask if Caitlin Clark is ready for the WNBA, just show them the tape. Because if this is what Indiana looks like on day 1, imagine what they'll become by playoff time.